Buttonhole, we first need to remove our current presser foot, and that's super easy to do. There's a little button on the back of your ankle, and all you have to do is just press it toward the ankle, and now our foot drops, and we can remove it. In your accessories is your buttonhole foot, and you can tell that it's your buttonhole foot. It has a large letter B at the top, and it's important to place your buttonhole foot with the B facing you in the right way. And you'll note the red guides are in the front and the B is behind. So now to place our foot on our machine, we're just going to lower our presser foot lifter until we catch that metal bar. Sometimes it can take a couple of times. And now it's attached and we can lift up our presser foot. Before stitching out our buttonhole, let's mark where we want our buttonhole to be. You can place your button on your fabric and then use a marking pencil or pen. And I'm going to mark at the bottom of my button and then at the top of my button. And now I can move that away, and then just using a ruler, you'll mark where you want the center of your buttonhole to be. And you see it makes the letter I. So now let's go back to our machine. Now let's make a buttonhole. Your machine has a 4-step buttonhole, and it's super easy. All we have to do is turn to our buttonhole stitches, and this is step number 1. So we'll line that up, and now let's sew that out. Our buttonhole will start stitching at the bottom of our eye. So we're going to push our buttonhole foot, the front of it, all the way to the back. And now we'll slide our fabric under our foot, and we're going to use the bottom of our eye to line up our buttonhole foot through the center underneath our needle. When you feel like you have that in place, we can lower our presser foot. We have our stitch selection set to step 1, and now we can start sewing. And we just want to sew 6 to 8 stitches, whatever you feel comfortable, that creates the bottom bartek of your buttonhole. We want to make sure that our needle is in its highest position before we start the next step. And you don't need to lift the presser foot, just leave it where it is. Now we're going to use our dial and turn to step 2 to make the second step of our buttonhole. And now you want to turn your dial to step 2 of the buttonhole. And now we're going to press our foot control. And we're going to look for we're just going to follow along until we see the top of our eye, and then we'll stop. And now we'll make sure our needle is in its highest position again. We'll turn to step 3 of our buttonhole on our stitch selection dial, and then we'll sew 6 to 8 stitches again. We'll raise our needle, and now we're going to turn to step 4 and the final step of our buttonhole. And we will sew this all the way till we reach the end of our buttonhole. And now again, we want to make sure that our needle is in its highest position. We're going to raise our presser foot. To finish our buttonhole, we need to get a hand needle. We'll use our finishing thread here, and we'll thread the end of the eye of our hand needle, and then we're going to sew that thread down from the top and through the bottom of our fabric to tack our buttonhole down and to make sure that it doesn't unravel. A quick tip when opening your buttonhole is to use a straight pin under the top of your bar tack. And then you can use the seam ripper that's included with your machine. And starting at the bottom, you can just cut all the way to the top. And the pin won't allow you to cut over your bartek stitches at the top. So now we have an open buttonhole.